One of the biggest mistakes many men make when it comes to attraction is expecting it to be obvious. They imagine that if a woman is interested, she will say something clear, flirt openly, or make the situation unmistakable. But real human attraction rarely works that way. In most cases, desire doesn't announce itself loudly. It shows up quietly, through small behaviors, subtle gestures, and tiny shifts in how someone interacts with you. Maybe you've experienced this before. You replay a conversation in your mind days later and suddenly realize something felt different. She stood a little closer than necessary. She held eye contact just a bit longer. She found small reasons to keep talking when the conversation could have easily ended. In the moment, it all felt normal, but looking back, it feels like you missed something important. Hi, I'm Olivia, your host of Psychology Secrets with Olivia, and today we're going to uncover something most people completely overlook: the quiet, powerful signs that a woman wants you, even when she never says it directly. And I want you to really lean in for this because this isn't just about reading signs. This is about understanding human behavior on a deeper level. Have you ever felt confused after talking to someone, wondering, was she just being nice? Or was there something more? If yes, you're not alone. And by the end of this video, you'll start seeing interactions in a completely different way. Let me tell you a quick story. A client once told me about a woman he met at a small gathering. They talked for almost an hour. Nothing dramatic happened. No flirting, no bold moves, just conversation. He assumed she was just being friendly. A week later, he found out she had actually been hoping he would ask for her number. What went wrong? He missed the signals. Not because he wasn't smart or confident, but because he was looking for something obvious instead of something subtle. And that's exactly what we're going to fix today. Here's the truth most people don't realize. Attraction often operates beneath the surface. Especially for women, expressing interest directly can feel emotionally risky. So instead of saying, "I like you," many women show it through behavior. Why? Because subtle signals protect emotional safety. Psychologically, this makes perfect sense. When someone is interested in you, they don't yet know how you feel. There's uncertainty, and the brain is wired to avoid rejection. So instead of jumping all in, people test the situation slowly. Think of it like this. Attraction is rarely a leap. It's a series of small steps. She might start with simple conversation. Then she becomes more curious. She asks more questions. She laughs a little more. She stays a little longer. Each step is a way of exploring connection without fully exposing her feelings. And here's what's fascinating. Most of this happens unconsciously. She's not sitting there thinking, "Now I will lean closer and hold eye contact for 3 seconds." No, her behavior is simply reflecting what she's starting to feel. That's why understanding these signals gives you such a powerful advantage. Because once you recognize them, you're no longer guessing, you're observing. Now let's talk about the first major signal. And this one is incredibly powerful when you know how to read it. Physical touch, but not the obvious kind, not dramatic or forced. I'm talking about small, almost accidental touches. Maybe she lightly taps your arm when laughing. Maybe she nudges you playfully. Maybe her hand rests on your shoulder just a second longer than necessary. On the surface, these moments seem insignificant, easy to dismiss. But here's the psychological truth. Touch reduces distance. When someone feels comfortable and curious about you, their body naturally seeks closeness. It's instinctive. The brain associates physical proximity with emotional connection. Let's make this practical. Imagine you're talking to a woman, and during the conversation, she laughs and briefly touches your arm. That alone doesn't mean attraction. But if it happens again and again, especially during moments of shared emotion, laughter, excitement, storytelling, that's a pattern. And patterns are where truth lives. Here's a simple exercise you can start using immediately. Next time you're in a conversation, don't just listen to words. Pay attention to moments of energy. When she laughs, when she gets excited, when the conversation flows naturally, then notice, does she close the physical gap during those moments? If yes, that's not random. That's emotional alignment expressing itself physically. But here's something very important, and I want you to really understand this. It's not just the touch that matters, it's what happens after the touch. Does she pull away quickly and become distant, or does she stay relaxed, continue talking, maintain eye contact? Comfort after contact is the real signal, because comfort means safety, And safety is the foundation of attraction. Now let's go deeper. Have you ever noticed how some interactions feel effortless while others feel forced? That's not coincidence. That's emotional synchronization. When two people are comfortable with each other, their behavior starts to align. Their tone, their rhythm, even their body language begins to mirror each other. So if she touches you, stays relaxed, and continues engaging, that's her nervous system saying, "This feels good. This feels safe." And when something feels safe, it has the potential to grow. Now let's move to the second signal, and this one is even more powerful because it creates emotional connection without any physical contact at all: eye contact. But not just any eye contact. I'm talking about the kind that lingers just a little longer than normal. In everyday conversation, people look around constantly. It's casual, distracted. But when a woman is interested, her gaze changes. She looks at you and stays there for a moment longer than expected. That moment, that slight pause, is where things get interesting. Because psychologically, eye contact activates emotional awareness. It pulls both people into the present moment. It creates a sense of intimacy without a single word being spoken. Let me ask you something. Have you ever locked eyes with someone and suddenly felt something? A shift? A tension? A moment that felt different from everything else around you? That's not your imagination. That's your brain recognizing connection. And here's what makes this even more fascinating. Sometimes she'll look at you, then look away, and then look back again. That pattern, look, break, return, is often a mix of curiosity and self-awareness. It's like she's drawn to you, but also aware of the moment. It's subtle, but incredibly telling. Now here's a practical tip you can use immediately. When you're talking to someone, don't just notice if she looks at you. Notice how long she holds that gaze. Notice if it repeats. Notice if it happens during emotional moments, like when you're both laughing or sharing something personal, because that's when it matters most. And here's where many people make a mistake. They break eye contact too quickly because they feel nervous. But confidence doesn't mean staring intensely. It means being comfortable in the moment, holding presence without pressure. Try this simple exercise. Next time you're in a conversation, when she looks at you, just hold the eye contact for 1 second longer than you normally would. Not in a forced way, just naturally. You'll be surprised how much that changes the energy. Because eye contact isn't just about seeing, it's about being seen. And when someone feels seen, connection deepens. Now, here's where things start to come together. Touch creates physical closeness. Eye contact creates emotional closeness. And when both happen together, something begins to build. But there's one more signal, and this is the one almost everyone misses. It's not about what she does directly, it's about how she shapes the environment around you. And this is where things get really interesting. But before we dive into that, if you're starting to see interactions differently already, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because what we're doing here isn't just dating advice, it's learning how to truly understand human behavior. And trust me, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Now let's talk about the third signal, and this one is incredibly subtle, yet incredibly powerful. It's when she creates opportunities to be closer to you. Not necessarily physically at first, but situationally. Let me paint a picture. You're both in a group setting. People are talking, laughing, moving around. It's social, busy, a little chaotic. And then suddenly she says something like, "Hey, let's grab a drink. Come, I want to show you something. Let's go over there. It's quieter." At first glance, it seems casual, almost random. But psychologically, it's not. What she's doing is shifting the environment to create space for connection. Because here's the truth, deep connection rarely happens in noise. It happens in focus. When she moves the interaction into a quieter, more private space, she's removing distractions. She's creating an environment where attention can be shared more directly between the two of you. And attention is one of the clearest indicators of interest. Let's break this down further. In a group, her attention is divided. She's engaging with multiple people. But when she chooses to isolate the interaction, even slightly, she's saying, "I want to focus on you." That's not something people do randomly. That's intentional behavior driven by curiosity and interest. Here's a real-life example. A man once told me he met a woman at a party. They talked briefly, then she suggested they step outside because it was too loud inside. They spent 20 minutes talking alone. He thought nothing of it. Later, he realized she wasn't just escaping noise. She was creating connection. and he missed it. Don't let that be you, because once you understand this signal, you start seeing it everywhere. Now, here's an important distinction. She doesn't need to take you somewhere completely isolated. Even small shifts count. Standing slightly apart from the group, walking together for a few minutes, finding a corner where conversation feels easier. These are micro movements toward connection. And when you combine this with the other signals, touch, eye contact, relaxed body language, it forms a clear pattern. And this is the key idea I want you to remember. Attraction is not one moment. It's a pattern. Most people fail because they analyze individual actions. She touched my arm. What does that mean? She looked at me. Was that interest? But isolated moments can be misleading. Patterns don't lie. When someone consistently shows comfort, attention, and a desire to continue interaction, that's when meaning becomes clear. Now let's talk about your role in all of this, because recognizing signals is only half the equation. How you respond determines everything. Here's where many men go wrong. They either overreact or underreact. Overreacting looks like this: suddenly becoming overly intense, trying too hard, forcing the interaction forward. Underreacting looks like this: ignoring the signals, staying passive, missing the opportunity completely. What works best is something in between. Calm confidence, responding naturally, staying present, continuing the conversation without pressure. Let me give you a simple framework you can use. Notice, acknowledge, continue. You notice the signal. You acknowledge it internally. Then you continue engaging normally. No sudden changes. No overthinking. Just awareness. Because attraction grows best in a relaxed environment. And here's something most people never talk about. People mirror energy. If you become tense, she feels it. If you become relaxed, she feels that too. So your calmness actually amplifies the connection. Now let's go even deeper into psychology for a moment. Why do these signals feel so powerful when they align? Because they reduce uncertainty. Attraction thrives in a space where curiosity meets safety. Too much uncertainty creates anxiety. Too much certainty removes excitement. These subtle signals sit perfectly in between. They create a sense of possibility, and that's where connection begins to grow. Let me ask you something important. How many opportunities have you missed simply because you were waiting for something obvious? A clear sign, a direct statement, a guarantee. But human connection doesn't come with guarantees, it comes with invitations. And these signals are invitations, not demands, not promises, invitations. And your job is not to force anything. Your job is to recognize and respond. Now let's make this practical again. Here's a simple exercise you can start using today. Replay your recent conversations in your mind. Think about moments where something felt slightly different, moments of longer eye contact, moments of shared laughter, moments where she stayed longer than necessary. Now ask yourself, was there a pattern? Because awareness begins with reflection. And once you start noticing these patterns in the past, you'll start recognizing them in real time. And that changes everything, because now you're not guessing anymore. You're observing, you're understanding, you're connecting. And here's the most important part of all: authenticity. Nothing you've learned today works if you're trying to perform or manipulate. People can feel that. Real connection happens when you are comfortable being yourself while being aware of the moment. That balance is powerful. So instead of trying to impress, focus on being present. Instead of trying to control the outcome, focus on enjoying the interaction. Because when two people feel comfortable, seen, and understood, attraction doesn't need to be forced. It unfolds naturally. And that's the real secret. If this made you see things differently, comment below and tell me, what's one signal you've noticed before but didn't understand until now? And if you want to master this deeper level of human psychology, make sure you subscribe to Psychology Secrets with Olivia, because we're just getting started. I'll see you in the next video.